Travis been good, so apparently I've maxed out on these porn pics, but they're the ones that get the most people's attention for the 14 seconds to see the picture of the beautiful women in wedding dresses, except for the one zombie girl. I'm not into makeup, but it was symbolically important for the video. So I guess this will be 20 nonetheless. The Dr. Death thing has died. Only people were interested in the introduction. But I can't seem to build on the porn pic videos. It's just every one of my subscribers seems to go to it, although it says that it's YouTube searches is the most for why people click on them. So it means that people are clicking on porn and Mormons. Seriously, you guys think you're going to find Mormon porn? But the church has come out with an online system to submit names for the prayer roll for living endowments, as the church has lifted temple restrictions for living endowments. And so let's do a little video on the prayer roll in the temple endowment. When you go into the temple, on your way to the locker rooms to dress for the endowment ceremony, you'll see little boxes on the counters, and sometimes they'll label them as the prayer box, but most Mormons know what they are and they don't really label them. They also have them in the lockers, oftentimes near the new name booth, because that's where you have to go through in order to go into the waiting room and the chapel area to start the session. Whether you have to, temples are different processes and procedures, but the purpose of them is that you're supposed to write a name, a single name. You're not supposed to put a group. You're not supposed to put all mankind, but of course you can. Nobody reads them. They just give you commandments that nobody follows up on, and nobody can punish anybody for doing it. Oh, let's do a handwriting analysis. We'll use our central database for the whole church membership, and anybody in the world who's been a critic of our church. They're not that smart. They do keep track of everybody's membership, even when you leave, but they're not that high-tech and into paranoia about keeping track of everybody that way. At least not yet. This video may give them ideas. But that depends on how many people are interested in this video. But maybe I'll have to make a risque picture for you. I'll have to find one. But again, most people are gone after seeing the picture, so nobody's going to be listening to me right now. But right before a session starts, you'll have a temple worker who's assigned to gather up all the names to that point and put them in a little satchel bag, similar to an overnight bag. And of course it's white to match the temple insides, just like a padded room in a mental hospital. And it sits there on the altar. Well, they put it underneath in the little rack behind there until it's called upon by the narrator's voice. Unless you're doing a live session, then the guy speaks it because he's doing a live session. And so when it comes time for the prayer circle, members are asked to come up, preferably as couples, because if you have a single person, you're going to have a single person of the other sex make the sacrifice to betray their spouse to be with this other person in the prayer circle. And it can be kind of uncomfortable sometimes, but it's usually not a problem during the rush hours, because you get a whole bunch of couples that want to participate. And so sometimes you'll have an expanded circle around the altar. And in the temple, you give the key words, names, signs, and tokens of the holy priesthood, which, yes, are Brigham Young's adaptations from Freemasonry. As I've gone over, the thumb, the right-handed thumb, is the knife that we all covenant to obey the covenants and ordinances in the temple as we hold the knife in our hand, which is to remind us, those of us who went through the temple before 1991, that it is to be used as the punishment for our violation of the temple covenants. And so after all four priesthood name, signs, tokens are given, then the officiator used to, or the narrator, used to have the women then veil their faces. Nelson has taken the veil away, so that part should have been dropped. And then you take your spouse, is what typically it is, but the woman who stands at your left by the patriarchal grip, or which is, you have this gap here, and then the other person slips their can't do it with the left and right hand, and the forefinger in the center of the wrist. Oh, Travis, no, you can't reveal the secrets. Oh no, you're going to be struck by lightning. We're going to have to murder you, Travis. Yeah, well, I've already uncovered a kidnapping plot today. Yeah, isn't that fun? And only 8 people have seen the video so far. So nobody knows about the kidnapping plot. However, no, it's not. Oh, yes, I've got the picture now. I've got the picture. Okay. And so then, everybody either bows their head. It's kind of awkward because you can't really bow your head, fold your arms, close your eyes type thing. But everybody tightens the circle so that, their left arm is to the square and on the shoulder of the person next to you and on your left. And so men, it's on the woman, and then the women on the men. There was one time in the Jordan River Temple where we didn't have enough women, and they couldn't get any of the ordinance women in the other areas to leave their posts to come do the prayer circle. And so the officiator had 2 guys do it. Very awkward moment as they had to decide who was going to be the woman. There are just certain situations where you just say, it can't be done. let's just go with what we have, even if it's just one couple. The Adam and Eve. But yeah, that was a fun day. Fortunately, I was able to have a woman with me, although she was an elderly woman. But yeah, and so then the officiator then goes behind, or goes in front of the altar. He has to push the button to stop the recording, and then goes, kneels at the altar, and puts his left hand on the scriptures, and then the prayer roll is placed next to it on the altar, and then he raises his arm to the square and begins giving a prayer. And there's, depending on the temple president who pays attention to the various officiators, you have to say certain things, such as referring to those names on the prayer roll. And so I noticed, having gone to the Jordan River Temple on a daily basis way back in the 2000s, that there was a period of time where some of the guys were forgetting to mention the prayer roll in their prayers, and then all of a sudden things changed. The arrangement of the workers, where they sat, and then other things that were done also changed, and the prayer became a rote prayer. So, yeah. So the part with the names is that those names are those who are sick and afflicted, or in need of special assistance or help from God. And they'll always throw in those in the session. Some of them think they can be prophetic. There are those in this room who are looking for a special blessing or special guidance and inspiration from thee. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's all it is. And like I said, nobody sees the names. After the session, the names are then trashed. They go in the dumpster. They might be shredded. I don't know if that even matters, because it's on private property, and so the trash man picks it up on private property, and so nobody has access to obtain the names by digging through the dumpsters, because it's private property. You can only dig through the trash of public property when it's out on the front to be picked up in public by the regular trash man. Just in case you're wanting to go digging through people's dumpsters. If it's on private property, can't touch. It's illegal. But I learned that as a private investigator. I got my private investigator's license as a kid. Missed, I was actually security guard training, but it was supposed to help towards becoming a private investigator. And so I took the course. Didn't pay the extra $15 to take the gun permit class. It was just the regular class, and he goes over it, tells you everything, and then gives you the quiz, and then tells you all the answers on the quiz, and you all pass, and you get your certificate, and then the church hires you to guard an art exhibit that they were holding over the weekend, and doesn't pay you because you're a member of the church, and the church doesn't pay anybody. They just use you. But yeah, you get to call the police and get the tow truck guy out to pull any car that decides they want to park in the parking lot because they had car troubles. and saw the parking lot and thought, hey, I can put it here and then find a phone. Anyway, but fun times in the big city of Southern California. And and so what had always struck me was that why even bother with names? Why not just say in your prayer, there are those in the temple who may have persons on their mind desiring a blessing or guidance or inspiration in their lives or in the lives of their loved ones. It seems superstitious, and it is, to think that writing the name on a paper and calling or emailing it now, or using the website for it. You could also do it by the phone before, but now I guess they don't have the person working on the phone lines for the virus, although they're sending everybody back to work and back on missions. But nonetheless, they have you put names on the temple, on the prayer roll, and you typically don't. Well, sometimes people will say, hey, I'll when other people in the world say thoughts and prayers for your loss, or the struggle you're going through, or whatever, Mormons will say, hey, I'll put your name on the prayer roll for you. That's the Mormon version. And I guess regular prayers aren't good enough. Somehow Mormons think that praying on the prayer roll of the altars of the temple somehow gives it extra magic powers or extra closeness to God. Yeah. If Mormons understood how prayer worked, that the Spirit, which is the communication medium, according to theology, it's all around us. It's everywhere. And so all we need to do is tune our minds to the Spirit. And so you don't need the extra oomph of a location. Again, that's superstition. That's part of idolatry. That's the belief aspect of the outward performance of idolatry. The belief that you have to be in holy places in order to feel the Spirit, as it's now called. Used to be listen to the Spirit in my early days. And it carries over in regular lives of Mormons as well, that Mormons will look for, like, a blessing, for example, from a holier person as much as they can find. And so if a wife wants a blessing and she knows her husband ain't so holy, she'll contact the bishop or someone else. I need a blessing. Have you asked your husband? I'm not asking that. Alright, fine. Contact your home teachers and see if they can do it. No, I want you to do it, because they're the home teachers. They missed us last week, and I tried to tell them to come over. They said they were busy. So, yeah, people will go up the rank as much as they can, thinking that rank somehow means closer to God, when it has nothing to do with any of it. You can have a lowly member of the church who just listens, who can do far better than the highest ranker who only listens to Lucifer. whom he listeth to obey. And so blessings and prayers, Mormons treat them the same. Blessings are supposed to be somewhat different, but it's the same mechanism in that you listen for the Spirit like you do in prayers. But in this, for blessings, you add the anointing of the head and laying on of hands, and you cater what you say directly to the matter at hand. So like if a person has polio and you're supposed to cure them of polio or coronavirus, that says a lot when the highest rank that a Mormon could go to fails with this coronavirus fast prayer to cure coronavirus. And all Mormons know exactly who I'm talking about and exactly what I'm talking about, that he had to do it twice. The second time on Good Friday, and he sort of stopped. He hasn't repeated it every first of the month, which is when Fast Sunday is supposed to be, even though he's opened up church again. Yeah, there are just certain things that expose a person as a fraud, and that was two of them. So, oh, I should also remember to tell you about another time in the Jordan River Temple. There were 3 elderly women. Apparently they never got married and were spinsters and lived together maybe. I don't know. But I would always see them in the celestial room after I finished with my session, and I would, what are they doing? Because they would stand at the center table in the celestial room underneath the chandelier, all like in a circle, like a prayer circle, and they would have their arms up in prayer. And so, yeah, it's like, oh, well, we got to be in the celestial room. That's the closest we can get to the Holy of Holies, even though the Salt Lake Temple is one of the few, very few, that have a Holy of Holies. Jordan River does not have a Holy of Holies. If a prophet wanted to use a room in the temple, they would just go into a ceiling room that has an altar as well. But yeah, those women, one time when I was there, the temple worker lady had to go and tell them, stop, no, you can't do this. I'm kind of disappointed that they took out the Hebrew, Paleel, you know, oh God, hear the words of my mouth. I don't know why they took that out. I guess the church felt ashamed that Joseph Smith was not using current Hebrew. He was using Paleo Hebrew, and so they didn't understand since they don't have the key of translation. But yeah, that was cool. I understood it when I learned Hebrew. Oh, okay. Pay, mouth, lay, to, el, God. And so, oh God, hear the words of my mouth, mouth to God. Not complicated, very simple. And they try to hide it now and hope that nobody remembers. So there you go. There's more temple secrets for you.